Good morning. My name is Richard Wexler, and this is Caring in America, the podcast for caregivers and care recipients. So, as I do on every episode, who am I? Why am I doing this? So, about 19 years ago, minding my own business in the software industry, married later, 2 small children at that point, 11 and 7. And all of a sudden, my wife and I start getting phone calls. And it turns into 4 phone calls for each one of our 4 parents. Were we prepared? Of course not. All of a sudden, we find out they're all seriously ill. And we start a journey that lasts 14 years in taking care of all 4 of them. The last parent passed in 2019 at 96. So wind the clock back about 16, 17 years. I could barely spell the word care. Left what I was doing in the software industry, started my company Points of Life, and realized I better figure this out, which I did, which enabled me to have educated over these years a lot of people about this tiny word called care. Started the podcast last spring as I'm aging now and wanted to figure out a way to hopefully reach even more people. We have a special guest with us today. I'm going to introduce him in a second. Vince Baiera started his career at the Cleveland Clinic and Duke University Hospital as a cardiothoracic ICU nurse. Moving on to work as a traveling ICU nurse, Vince worked in more than 15 hospitals across the U.S. and the U.S. Virgin Islands. He went on to become the lead faculty member at Central Nursing College, a 1-year accelerated LPN school. Vince is also the founder of Step2health, which offers proprietary assist devices for seniors to help them reduce the risk of falls and age in place. The Step2health products are sold nationwide, where he partners with Walmart, Lowe's, Amazon, CVS, Walgreens, QVC, and more. He currently lives in beautiful San Diego, California, is married, and has twin boys. Are you there, Vince?
I'm here.
Are you in San Diego today, sir?
I am.
Beautiful as usual?
I did a run on the beach this morning and jumped in the ocean. It's about 65 degrees and sunny and in the early part of the year, so
okay, you're not allowed to talk anymore. I mean, yeah, people are that's beautiful. I mean, it is one of the most beautiful spots on this planet. So as we get into this, I mean, done a lot of education, talked to a lot of people, stood in front of a lot of people, had a lot of people online, so on and so forth. And we talk about this horrific thing called aging. I mean, I'm 70 now. I wish I was still 35. I mean, aging is aging. The last time I checked, all of us are hopefully going to do that, but it causes complexities and complications, and we change. Kind of give me your thought on this whole aging process.
Well, I said all the time back in those nursing days when I was doing bedside care is that father time beats us all. And we know that our time on this planet is finite. And so you better work your butt off every day to enjoy what you got. And it's only when you start to lose it do you really recognize what you had. And I think as your body changes over time, you've got to embrace it, because guess what? You can't change anything that's happening to you in terms of that aging process. So, making strides in your personal life to, work on your relationships, to pour into yourself, to keep trying to fill up your cup with things that excite you is one of the most important things to do for what I believe is a good quality of life. And hopefully you got family and friends and folks around that you can share it with. But, I think so much goes back to your mindset and the decisions you make. And it's not exactly the things that are easy for you, but it's when you make those decisions that are hard that you say, no, you know what? I'm going to stick to that diet because I know that the doctor was right. I'm going to make an effort to get outside every day and go for a walk because I know it's good for me. And just making those decisions is so crucial to live a good life.
I totally agree. I mean, as I said, I'm 70 now. My body isn't the same as it was when I was 35, 45, 55, etc. I mean, it is natural. There is an aging process, but as you're saying, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you may agree with this. I mean, we can determine how we age, and what you were just talking about, following advice and thinking about the things that we need to do. And I talk a lot about what I call a family conversation, having conversations with your loved ones, maybe your adult children, maybe your grandchildren, and having honest conversations about aging. And I want your thoughts on this. I mean, in all my research, and maybe you've seen this in a similar vein, most people want to stay at home. Most people want to age in place. Can you talk about that? And can you talk about things that we should be looking at within the home as people do age in place?
Absolutely. I think if you look at the statistics and the data and the reports, you can find anywhere from 90 to 99% of people that are asked say, I would prefer to age in place in my home where I'm comfortable near my friends and family, things like that. So having, to your point, Richard, those honest conversations, and those start with yourself, right? You've got to be honest with yourself, and you've got to keep evolving. You've got to picture yourself as somebody who's not going to let time, pass them by and they're just a bystander of what's happening around them. No, indeed, they can be in control. And as you think about ways to invest in your home so you can age there, there's lots of things that you can do. I mean, these things start with things around door handles and faucets and making sure things are within reach, making sure doorways are wide enough, making sure you may need a ramp if you've aged in a home that has a lot of steps, but stairs are now a little more difficult for you. There's things that you can do in terms of installing ramps and making sure things are non-slip. You've got things like just simple stuff that we sometimes overlook, like making rooms brighter, making things a bit more accessible. Again, maybe you're having some pain and you've got to change the way the door handles work. You might need to invest and say, you know what, this yard that I've got it's a lot for me to take on. Maybe I can trade services because the neighbor is real great at mowing lawns, but he sure loves some of my cooking, and maybe we can trade. And so you sometimes got to get creative if you're on a budget, but there's all sorts of things you can do around your bathroom that are important, that, are just things to think about, right? Grab bars, walk-in tubs, the height of the toilet seat. You've got lots of different options to make sure that your home is ready. And we've got some great resources to list these out. But even if you don't want to follow what we say, you can go ahead and ask friends, look online for resources, and ask Google about ways to modify your home. But there sure are a lot of things out there that can help you. And again, there's lots of companies that are invested in the success that you're going to have in aging in place. And so we want to serve you. We want to give you a better quality of life because we want to make sure that you're as safe as possible. So there's lots and lots of stuff out there, and it just kind of comes down to your willingness to adapt and take control. And I think once you make that decision, boy, you can really make a lot of changes that can help extend those years at home and the comfort and ease of which living at home would then bring.
I think I know that's fantastic information. And it kind of leads me into something I talk about on every episode. And folks, here I go again. It's that four-letter word that people don't like, and it's called plan. But what Vince is talking about, we don't want to make those modifications after someone's already fallen on those front steps where maybe a ramp should have been put in previously, and now someone's dealing with a broken hip or the rehab from a broken hip. They went to the hospital, they went through surgery. Thank God everything worked out okay. They went to a rehab facility. Now they're back home, but they're still dealing with that. So we want to get ahead of this. And that's where Vince is talking about that individual, that aging individual, really being honest with themselves and understanding I'm aging. I'm 75, I'm 80, I'm 85, whatever age you are, and let and maybe I'm struggling in the bathroom or I'm struggling in the shower or whatever the case may be. Let's look at some of these modifications and let's look at them now before a fall, before someone gets severely ill, etc. This leads me, Vince. I want to find out more. Let's talk about your company, Step to Health. Can you tell the audience more about that? I'm intrigued by, I believe it was your initial product, Step2bed. Can you inform people about that?
Yeah, those years as I worked as an ICU nurse, I saw all the ways that seniors struggled with mobility. But it wasn't until I saw my own grandparents actually have a fall at home, getting in and out of bed. And I just thought, man, there's got to be a better way because these little step stools that people use, they're not really meant for older adults that really accommodate all the different needs. So I set out to create what I thought would be the ultimate bedside step for an older adult. It combines motion activated lighting, dual assist grab bars, an extra wide landing base. And just to give you some context when I say that, most of those step stools you see on the market are maybe an 8-inch by 8-inch platform, maybe 10-inch, so on, so on. Ours is 32 inches wide and 12 inches deep. So when you step up on the product, it's very wide. It accommodates a wide range of users because it's made of steel and it can support up to 562 pounds.
Wow.
So as you start to think about folks needing that customized experience, you've got 6 different height adjustment settings and just all the small comfort all the small comfort amenities. I'll adapt my verbiage so I'm not speaking all crazy here. All those different comfort features that we know people really like and need, we incorporated into the product. So we started there with the Step2bed. We got feedback from some folks saying a smaller version, a larger version. What about one for the bathroom? And we did expand the line to offer a Step2bed mini, an XL version that can support up to 800 pounds, and then even a version for the bathtub for folks who say, I don't really have the time, energy, money to do a big bathroom remodel, but I still got this bathtub wall that I got to step over to get in and out of that tub. Maybe there's a way to help those folks as well. So our company started roughly 5.5 years ago. We started serving seniors all over the country and since have helped over 60,000 seniors across America age
Wow.
in place longer. And again, we think much, much safer. And just to say one more thing, my own grandmother, who inspired the product, has used this Step2bed for years and years and years. She's still in a senior living community based in Cleveland, Ohio, but she's aging and she's in this assisted living. She gets some support, but she still does some on her own. And she's flat out told me that this product has helped her prevent falls for numerous times where she just started to lose balance, but boom, it was right there handy for her. And we feel really good about that. We've done clinical studies with universities to really make sure that the product is safe for seniors, and have over 5,000 reviews with a 4.6 out of 5 from folks around the world that have used it. So just something we're really proud of. We work really hard to try to give everybody the same experience that I'd want my own grandmother to have, and try to treat every customer like they are family.
That is fantastic. I'm certainly aware. I'm assuming, and bad word, this may have been part of why you developed this as well. The height of beds is obviously different than it used to be. I'm 6'5". Not everybody's 6'5", so obviously for me, my feet hit the ground, so on and so forth. But the average person out there, for a woman, maybe 5'5", 5'6". For a man, maybe 5'9", 5'10". I can see this as an issue, and having something to hang on to as you get out of bed. I mean, folks, you just woke up, you're a little groggy, you've been sleeping all night. Maybe you've taken a nap. I mean, this sounds like a great solution, because one thing I want to talk to Vince about, he's aware, I'm aware, before COVID, we had a real shortage in caregivers out there, both from an in-home care perspective, also working in places like the assisted living. It's gotten worse after COVID. So we have, according to the AARP, from age 50 and above, there's a variation on the number. It's approximately around 109, 110 million people. Are we going to be able to find all those caregivers? So being able to age in place at home as long as you possibly can, with the right equipment, with technology that we can talk about in a second, is really going to help you before you possibly need some care coming in the home, or maybe it makes sense for you to move to an assisted living. Can you address that, Vince? I mean, are you aware? Is there, my assumption, again, bad word, there's a lot of technology out there that can help folks as well.
Yeah, and you said a number of things just to unpack there real quick, because while there are so many folks that are aging that need to really, be honest about what their needs are, you've also got folks that are recovering from knee surgeries, hip surgeries, replacements, back surgeries, shoulder surgeries. My wife even used our product when she was on bed rest during her pregnancy, and then after pregnancy with her C-section and that abdominal surgery. So the product, in terms of from a mobility standpoint, can really run the gamut and help so many folks. But for individuals that are at home that are thinking, where do I start? Yeah, one of the things that I like to talk about is having a budget, and maybe trying to cover and tackle parts of the way you want to modify your home in waves. And so maybe you say, my budget this year is $3,000 that I'm going to dedicate. So where are the top few things or ways or places that I can utilize that budget to make some improvements? And maybe it's a multifaceted and multi-year approach to the way you modify your home, because let's face it, most of us have a budget and we can't just write a check and snap our fingers and everything's better. So I think that might be a great strategy if you're wondering, where do I start? There's lots of organizations that can give you tips. You probably already know, hey, this area around my bed is giving me a hard time, or that bathtub's giving me a hard time. Let's just, use common sense and tackle that stuff first. So there's lots of great ways that you can utilize resources to find out where the biggest windfalls will be in terms of modifying your home. But Richard, you talked about technology, and this is something for the audience that I just want to be on record saying is that you have to, it, let me rephrase that. You have the opportunity for an infinitely better way of life if you're willing to adopt some technology into your world. And what I mean by that is it's hard if you don't drive anymore to get the things you want. But guess what? If you have a phone and you're willing to adopt technology, you can press a button and get almost anything in the world delivered to your front door, oftentimes that day or in the next couple of days. You've got services that help you with rides. You've got services that help with food delivery. You've got folks who struggle with loneliness and socially not able to get out to the functions they used to. There's all sorts of ways from a video conferencing standpoint that you can incorporate technology. And I realize that it's new. I realize that the folks on the other end say, Vince, I'm 75. I've never owned an email address or a laptop. I don't have any interest in starting now. But you've just made a decision that you don't want to utilize tools that are going to make your life better. So that's where I go back to those decisions you make internally, really reflect that ease of life that you can come to expect, because it just doesn't stop there. For instance, I have two young boys that you recently, and when you introduced me, referenced. We had to do a telehealth appointment. Twin boys, under 2 years old, and boy, it's a pain in the butt getting out the door, planning snacks, planning naps, and when they're sick and not feeling great, to get to a doctor, boy, is it tough. Well, guess what? From my phone, I could press a button, and within about 20 minutes, I had a doctor on the phone, and we did a telehealth visit. I didn't have to get in the car. I didn't have to change. I didn't have to go anywhere. Boom, they did it. Within an hour or so, that prescription was at the pharmacy and able to be picked up. And so there's all sorts of ways that technology is aiding healthcare, because to bring it full circle, Richard, you talked about 110 or so odd million folks around just in the US that are going to require care, but we don't have the number of caregivers needed. And it's really not that cost efficient to always have folks coming to the home and doing that in-home healthcare. So there's lots of tools and options out there for you if you're willing to adopt them. And that might mean you need to take a class to learn. That might mean you need to invest a few dollars into a device that will work for you. But there's plenty of options, and there's plenty of people that want to help you. And we just got to get more creative in terms of reaching those folks. So long-winded answer, but I tried to touch on a few points, Richard, that you made there in ways that the audience hopefully can think about options that they have.
No, I very much appreciate that, Vince, and that's fantastic information. And folks, and I'm going to say it again. So if you're a little bit older and maybe you're not familiar with technology, or you have a phone, let's say it's an iPhone, and you really utilize calling people and that's about it. There are so much functionality within that phone, like Vince is talking about. There's so much functionality out there. There's so much technology out there. I talk about the family conversation. Talk to your adult children. Talk to your grandchildren that may know just about everything that phone can do. Let them help you. But again, get ahead of it
Yep.
before something happens, before, whether it's an illness, a fall, a combination thereof. Because as we're both talking about, yeah, it'd be great to have someone always coming in, or maybe at some point you are going to move to an assisted living. But if you can delay that, and we're probably going to have to, I mean, that's probably reality with this many folks 50 and older in this country and the way things are set up, unless we make some dramatic changes. I'm trying to do that. We're trying to see if that can happen. But aging in place, staying at home may be something that people need to do and do for a longer period of time. So, as we get ready to wrap this up, the messaging that Vince is giving you, that I'm giving you, think ahead. Talk to your
Yep.
family, talk to your neighbors. I love the idea of bartering with neighbors. What service can you provide for them? What can they do for you? I mean, there's a lot we need to think about as we're aging. I always talk about the complications and the complexities. This is what I mean, but please get ahead of it if people want to reach out to you, Vince, what do you want to give them? Phone number, website, whatever you would like to do. Please, if you can let the audience know.
Yeah, our website and an easy way to find us is just Step, STEP, then the number 2, then the word health. Step2health. It's written as all one word. You can search for us on just about any social media platform. You can go to our website, which is step2health.com, and you can always email us at info@step2health.com. And on our website, we have a phone number if you'd rather call us. But to your point, Richard, about planning, I love what you're doing and the work that you're putting your effort into to help so many folks think ahead. And I find that so many times, women are a little better at this, I feel like, than men, because they're willing to be a little more honest around the situation, where us men, sometimes we have a difficult time admitting when, we need a little help. And so, again, if you're someone out there that has been saying to yourself, I know I need to, I just haven't gotten around to it. It's like anything, right? A little bit of prevention goes a long way, instead of waiting until that occurrence happens and then going, oh, shoot, we should have done this. I've been on the fence and just haven't gotten around to it. But now there's been an issue or a occurrence. So again, to everyone out there, just really want to support you as you think through that aging process and what would work for you. And just know that folks like Richard, myself, and so many others out there, this is why we get up and work our butts off, is to try to help others, live a better life. So just thanks, Richard, for the work you're doing. And hopefully the audience listening has a few takeaways and can try to put those into action.
Thank you, Vince. I completely agree, and that was great advice, folks. And unfortunately, I agree with the female part of this as well. I've stood in front of too many audiences where the husband has looked at me and said, "My wife's going to take care of this." Really? Come on, guys. Come on, guys, wake up. It's both our responsibilities. You're asking your wife to take care of your parents. Guys, wake up. But as I've said many times, 2024 is the year for the action plan. Put something together. Take Vince's advice. Hopefully take mine. Start planning. Start talking to your family. Try to get ahead of this. We didn't. We're not the example. You don't want to follow the example of my wife and myself. And I'm not saying everybody's going to get 4 parents, but I'm telling you, folks, we started with 1. That was tough enough. And you never know if you're going to wind up adding more. And then guess what? At some point, it's your spouse, it's your partner, it's yourself. So as I get ready to wrap up, on each episode, I give you an email. Send me comments, send me questions. If you're an expert in the field, let me know. That email, eldered2023@gmail.com. And once again, Vince, thank you very much. And folks, as I say on every episode, until we talk again, have yourself a great day.